Welcome back to the Jacksonville Buzz. Now, if you perhaps have had some overindulgences through the holiday season, how do you feel about relaxing, recovering, and renewing in a therapeutic environment, free of distraction or disruption? Well, sounds good, doesn't it? My next guest is going to tell us just how we can do that. I'd like to welcome Gina Schimpff from Be Still Float Studio. Welcome, Gina.
Well, thank you so much. I couldn't have written a better introduction. That was just perfect. Yes, we are opening Be Still Float Studio in Riverside. We are on the intersection of Riverside and Lomax, right down the street from River and Post. So it's just up the street.
Oh, it's close, yes.
And we've built it out as a wellness center specifically to help us escape the chaos. We are just overwhelmed constantly. The amount of digital information that we take in, just sensory inputs when we're driving, our families, our work lives, there's no escape anymore. I mean, your phone is there, you're wearing it on your wrist, you can't get away from it. So I was trying to find ways to help my family, and I stumbled onto the practice of floating, which is fabulous for your mind and your body. So we're opening hopefully in a couple of weeks. Inspections are pending, and we're going to bring it to Riverside in the downtown Jacksonville area.
Fantastic. So you've told us how you sort of got started on it. Be Still. How did that come about? Because that's a name that, yes, I can think you're lying in the water and you're trying to be still, but
right. Finding a name was a journey. I kept coming up with different iterations, and there was already something related to it or another float center that had the same name, and I just kept playing around with it, and we were even getting ready to hire a company to help us with it. I've done a ton of research for this project, and I was visiting a float center in Virginia, and they had a sound healing table, and I did one of their sessions because I didn't know what it was, and honestly, at the end of that session, a voice, I don't think I'm crazy, a voice inside my head just said, "Be still." And this is right when I was going through finding the name, and immediately I thought, that's the name. That's it. That's perfect.
Do. It's one of those moments.
It was exactly one of those moments. And then I wanted to call it a studio. Most places are called a center or a spa. I get gift cards to go to the spa. I love going to the spa, but it's an indulgence, and I don't do it very often. However, I go to my yoga studio very often. A studio is someplace where you're working on a skill, a trade, an art form, taking care of yourself, and floating is a practice. It's something that you want to work on, and you'll have different experiences every time you do them.
Now, talking about that, can anyone float? I mean, are there weight limits?
That's a great question. For the majority of the time, most anyone can float. There are a couple of reasons why it would not be a good idea to float. If you have low blood pressure, that would not be a good situation for you because floating naturally lowers your blood pressure.
Oh, okay.
If you are in your first trimester of pregnancy, not a good time to float. Afterwards, with doctor's permission, it would be great. In terms of the weight limit question, I don't know of a weight limit. I have asked. If someone is a bit larger, there are precautions that we take to make sure that the water levels are where they need to be, but I have not heard of a weight limit. I think you're constrained by the size of your float tank.
Right.
So the ones that we have actually have enough capacity for 2 people, so we would not, I don't imagine us having an issue with a weight limit. And then certain situations, in mental health situations, you need to talk to your doctor whether or not you would be a good candidate to float, because when you're in the tank, your mind goes to a lot of different places, and because of that, people with anxiety have really benefited from floating. People with PTSD have benefited from floating. But if it's extreme, that's why you need to speak to your doctor before you attempt it.
Right.
I'm trying to think of other situations. People who have extreme motion sickness, not all will experience motion sickness in the tank, but they are more predisposed to experience it. There's something really interesting that happens when you're floating, and not to everyone, but to some people, you feel as if you're spinning.
Oh, wow.
And it doesn't happen every time, and it's not really fast, but you feel movement. And I've been in very small tanks when I know it is physically impossible for me to move, but I feel like I'm swirling, and that could cause motion sickness for some people.
Right.
We have an open tank, so you know that if you are spinning, you could be. It's
So
physically
actually,
possible and you feel fine with it.
if you have claustrophobia, don't worry, because you still can do it, because you're not actually trapped inside what I feel like is a coffin-shaped tank.
Okay, so you're bringing up a great point. There are 3 different types of float tanks. There are the pod styles that have a lid, or you slide into them and close a door. There are cabins that are more like what we're accustomed to in a bathroom, a bathtub with glass doors that you open and step into.
Right.
And then there's an open pool. And I did a lot of research, and I found that for my demographic, I would be more successful by offering an open float pool, and ours is a circular 8-foot diameter pool. So there's no lid, none of that.
Fantastic.
And it's also ADA accessible, fully ADA accessible. And we have a intercom system with a phone. So let's say you wanted to bring a family member who had mobility issues or maybe was a little bit older. You could escort them, help them get into the pool,
and it makes
they
it
could
easier
have their
and
float.
feel comfortable.
They could call us at the front desk.
Golly.
And we can let them know when they're done, and then the person can come help them out. We would not be helping anyone in and out of the pool, but we have the ability to make that possible for a visitor.
There's so much more I could ask you and we could get involved in, but if anyone needs to find out any more information, how can they get hold of you?
They can go to our website, and our website is just www.bestillfloat.com. Very easy, or they can send us an email at relax@bestillfloat.com, and we will respond right away.
Wonderful. Now, I know you're opening up at the end of January. God willing and the creek don't rise.
Exactly.
And so until then, we'll be right back after these messages.